Hello, hello, hello. This is Aurelia Davis, the educator's educator, coming to you on a Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday afternoon. This is May 10th, I do believe. But just glad to be here. Hope everybody is out there doing real well. Teachers, you're ending the year. Hooray for you. And I just truly hope that this has been a very, very inspiring year for you to keep you in the profession. That's what you possibly want to do more than anything else is to stay in the profession because you're needed. The students need you, and you are very valuable to the career of teaching. You are very valuable to to the career of being a teacher. And tonight, I just wanted to come to you for a few minutes. I remember teaching back in the starting in the 80s and going into the 90s. And at that particular time, I would say that the classroom was a very good it sort of gave you a presence of being complete. And when I say that, that means that when you went into that classroom as an educator, you found yourself doing so many different things, and you didn't really know the skills you had until you were in front of students. I'll say that again. You really didn't know the skills that you had or had possessed until you were in front of students. And so tonight I just wanted to talk about the skills we have as teachers. We have very, when we go into the colleges and to learn how to be a teacher, we are taking classes that would possibly help lawyers and therapists and psychologists and social workers. All of those things are embedded in the career of being a teacher. Those skills are embedded in being a career of a teacher. And I just went online to look up 10 qualities that makes good teachers, 10 qualities that good teachers have, or 10 qualities that teachers have. And those qualities included communication. In other words, you're a very, very good communicator. You have to be a very good communicator in order to teach the lessons that you're teaching to children. And to be on top of that, how to deliver information to children is a lot different than delivering information to adults. Being able to deliver information to children takes a special skill than delivering information to adults. Listening, you have to be a very, very good listener. You have to be a very, very good listener. And being a good listener, it means you are engulfing what someone is telling you, so that you'll be able to go back and meet the needs of what they are asking. So you have to be a very good listener. Collaborator, that means pulling people together and pulling young people and students together to create and expand on the on learning. In other words, pulling one child from one group and putting another child from another group and putting them together to make a project. So the collaboration and teaching them how to be collaborators. In other words, how to pull their skills together in order to be able to learn something from the skills. Adaptability. You got to be flexible. You have to be flexible. Fast on your feet, thinking on your feet. That's something I learned over and over and over again. I went into my classroom with the best lesson plans in place, and some days I was not able to teach those particular lessons because the students had took us in a different direction. But that's being adaptable, and there's nothing wrong with that, because wherever I had planned and what the children had planned, some learning is going to take place. Learning is going to take place. Empathy. These are babies. These are children, and you have compassion. You have to be sympathetic to their needs and their wants. You have to be sympathetic to their needs and their wants. They come to you with most times they'll come to you with issues. It doesn't have to be anything big, but they just may be feeling down on a particular day. So you want to be able to just meet the needs of what they feel on that particular day. Have the empathy that they need. Patience. Oh my God, patience of Job. The patience of Job is what a teacher needs. A teacher has patience. That means you can take take a short. Let me see how can I do this. By you having patience, that means you can go. Okay, this is it. You go back. You learn how to go back time and time and time again. Your patience make you a long long, have a long career in education. Being a patients allow you to have a long lasting career in education. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's how I was able to do 31 years. And before I knew it, the 31 years was up. And I didn't even know I had did 31 years until I started counting. But the you would go in and one day and just look like your patients would be swallowed up. But then once you go home and you start resting, you start getting that patience back. And you think about the students, the ones that drive you a little nutty, but at the same time, the ones that you love just seeing their smiling faces day to day. That's the patience you need. So you have patience. You have to have patience in order to be an educator. Exchange of best practices. What's the best practices that will take children to the next level of learning? Meeting them exactly where they are. You have about 25 in your classroom. That's 25 different learners in your classroom, and you use best practices to reach each individual learner. Luckily, sometimes you'll get two or three in one particular group, but a lot of times you will probably have to address the individual learning styles of each child in your classroom. And then the love of being a lifelong learner. That has been a phrase of mine that I've been using, like I say, for about the last 6 or 7 years, becoming a lifelong learner. That's why I do what I do. After retiring in 2012, I decided I wanted to become a lifelong learner, still learning about education and how to be an educator, even though I had did it, but at the same time, building my skills in other areas, in the arts, being an author and those types of things. And so I wanted to become a lifelong learner. And that's what you end up doing in your students. They hook onto a particular subject, and you'll be surprised how they just drive and drive and drive and just want more and more information about a particular subject. So I said all that to say this, that during the time that you are teaching as an educator, you're going to have the opportunity, because of your valuable skills, to tap into other fields. Okay, and to tap into other careers. And what I found myself doing is basically doing some careers while I was teaching. But by the time I retired, I knew exactly, I decided that my career as a teacher was over, but only over in the level where I was in the classroom. I took my teaching career to a different level, and so now I'm very active in the CAT organization for a particular neighborhood in Chicago. I've gotten on quite a few educational committees, and have given my input as to what I think about different things that are happening in the city. And then because I was a lover of social studies while I was teaching, I decided to write a book about Chicago. Our third grade social studies unit was Chicago. And so after I got through teaching that social studies, I became very interested, and I decided to write two books. And I have a third one coming out. The first one is A New Land. The second one is John Davis Legacy. Both of these can be found on Amazon. And the third book, it happened in North Lawndale. And so these particular books are from my love of social studies and from my love of history, Chicago history, especially Chicago history, and my love for African American history. So these are things that as soon as I retired for teaching, I just went to a different level of my life as far as taking my career as a teacher into a different level of being an author, being a committee member, working in different neighborhoods, being a consultant. So all of these things from me having a teaching career allowed me to do these other things. When you think about for alternative jobs for teachers, if you wanted to go into something else, hopefully, and sometimes you can do things in the summertime. I've known a lot of teachers that have become trainers. They have become some of the childcare workers, personal trainers, just looking, a museum curator. That's interesting. Uh, Career counselors, so even taking your teaching career and teaching degree and taking it into another level of education is also very, very important. I do remember while I was teaching, there was basically a lot of interest in individuals wanted to know, what else can I do besides teaching the classroom? what else can I do besides teach in the classroom? So there was a book that came out, and it was in a Borders bookstore, which no longer exists. And it was called "What Color Is Your Parachute?" And there was one particular book about how teachers can go into second careers, or second careers for teachers. And you would be surprised the number of other careers that will take you from being a teacher that you could go into. But the key word is that if you would decided to go into another career from education, the experience you had as an educator counted a whole lot. In other words, just going into, and just, I say, I taught for a year, that's not giving you the experience you needed to go into another career. But they were actively recruiting us when we had 5 and 6 and 7 and 10 years experience as a classroom teacher or in the classroom. We talked about how we were collaborators. We talked about how we were active listeners. We talked about how we were able to deliver information to individuals, which brought in which brought in training quite a bit. And all of those things were basically very good for those individuals that wanted to go into another career past teaching. But what I'm saying is, and I say this to say this: the longer you are a teacher, the more you build skills for other careers. I'll say that again. The longer you teach, the more you build skills for other careers. And that tells you that the you being a teacher is so important, that once you leave the field of teaching, if you do, once it gets to the point where you are ready to retire, you will be surprised how many people are actively looking for you to go into something else because of your experience as a classroom teacher. Because of your experience as a classroom teacher. So I said all that to say this: don't take it for granted that you're going in and you're writing lesson plans and you're standing in front of 25 students and you're constantly talking and engaging them in all kinds of things. Do not take it for granted, because the skills that you're building now as an educator are very valuable, and they're going to help you down the road. In other words, you're going to be able to use those skills down the road, and they will just bring you all kinds of interesting experiences. So I just said that to say this: if just look up and Google. Well, we Google everything. Just have to take the time and opportunity to look up alternative careers for teachers. But what you must remember is, the longer you teach, the better your skills become. The longer you teach, the better your skills become. I think I've told it time and time again, but while I was in the classroom, during the time I was in the classroom, I was always also teaching. I also became a teacher trainer. Okay. I had the opportunity to become a teacher trainer. That was a different department, and it was called New Teacher Induction. Induction for educators. And so they recruited teachers that were already in the classroom, and we took classes to train other people that wanted to be teachers. And so I became a trainer. And then after receiving my master's degree, I was able to take the skills that I still had, and which is teaching and training, and take it to the college level, where I became a adjunct professor for a university. So those years I spent in the classroom that I sort of took for granted basically showed me to be a very, very valuable to have very, very valuable skills that were needed in other areas. And I was able to take those skills and put them in other areas. So don't take what you're doing for granted. Your job is very valuable. You are very valuable. You have skills that some other careers do not have or will never get, because when you're standing in front of those students, you're doing everything. You're collaborating, you're showing empathy, you're showing patience, you're showing collaboration, you're counseling, you're a social worker, you are a psychologist, and sometimes, so all of these things come together to make you who you are. And take those skills and take them to the next level. If you decide to stay in the classroom, good. But the longer you stay in the classroom, the more your skills are developed where you can take it to the next level. Just a tidbit I thought I'd give to you. If you'd like to see more offerings for me from AureliaDavis.com, feel free to go over to my website, AureliaDavis.com. Still taking orders for my preschool STEM cards. And if you haven't gotten yours today, please do so. But this is Aurelia Davis coming to you on a Wednesday afternoon. Just hope you were able to get something from what I gave this afternoon and this evening. Have a nice evening and take care. Bye-bye.